Captain Jake Murphy stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and stared at the massive alien ship that had just appeared in front of them. The ship was 3 times larger than his vessel and glowed with a soft blue light. It looked nothing like the human ships he knew. This was smooth and curved like a piece of art floating in space. "Sir, they're sending us a message," said Lieutenant Kate Wilson from her station. Her voice was tight with excitement and fear. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with an alien race. "Put it on screen," Murphy ordered. He straightened his uniform and tried to look calm. Behind him, Dr. Lisa Carter moved closer to watch. She was the ship's expert on alien life and had waited her whole career for this moment. The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, the words came through their translation computer in perfect English. "Greetings, primitive beings. I am Ambassador Zekthar of the Galactic Federation. We have been watching your species for some time. You have finally developed the ability to travel between stars, which means you are ready to join civilized society." Murphy felt his jaw tighten at the word primitive, but kept his voice steady. "I'm Captain Jake Murphy of the United Earthship Liberty. We're explorers from Earth, and we're pleased to meet you." The alien's face showed what might have been amusement. "Yes, we know of your world. Your species is young and violent. This is common among developing races. Do not worry. The Federation will guide you and help you overcome your savage nature." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "Savage nature? We're a peaceful exploration mission. We've come in friendship." Zekthar looked at her with those large black eyes. "Your species has a history of warfare and destruction. Even now you carry weapons on your ships. This is proof of your primitive state. But the Federation is patient. We will teach you to be civilized." Murphy's hands clenched into fists. "We carry defensive weapons because space can be dangerous. That doesn't make us savage. We've had peace on Earth for over 50 years. "Peace born from exhaustion after your wars," the alien replied. "This is temporary. Your kind always returns to violence. It is in your nature. This is why you need guidance." The captain took a deep breath. He could feel his crew getting angry, but he had to stay diplomatic. "What kind of guidance are you talking about?" "The Federation will establish bases on your world. Your military will be disbanded. Your government will report to Federation administrators. Your people will learn proper behavior. In time, perhaps in a few hundred years, you may be granted limited membership in galactic society." The bridge went completely silent. Murphy could hear his own heartbeat. "You want to occupy our planet? We prefer the term civilizing mission. Your species cannot be trusted to govern itself. This has been decided by the Federation Council after careful study of your history." Dr. Carter spoke up, her voice shaking with anger. "You've been studying us. For how long?" "Several of your decades. We have observed your wars, your environmental destruction, your social conflicts. You are exactly what we expected from a species at your development level, dangerous but manageable." Murphy stepped closer to the screen. "And if we refuse your offer?" For the first time, the alien's expression changed. It became cold and hard. Refusal is not an option. Species that reject Federation guidance are considered a threat to galactic peace. Such threats are eliminated. Eliminated? Murphy's voice was barely a whisper. Completely. Your sun would be destabilized. Your planet would become uninhabitable. Your species would cease to exist, but this is rarely necessary. Most primitives see the wisdom of cooperation. The captain looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for his response. These aliens were talking about destroying Earth and everyone on it like it was nothing more than cleaning up trash. "How long do we have to decide?" "Your ship will return to Earth immediately. You will present our terms to your leaders. They have 10 of your days to accept Federation authority. If they refuse, corrective measures will begin." Murphy felt something cold settle in his stomach. "What kind of corrective measures?" "We will demonstrate our resolve by destroying one of your colony ships." This usually convinces primitive species to be reasonable. Dr. Carter gasped. Colony ships, you mean civilian vessels, families? Approximately 50,000 of your people, yes. Their sacrifice will save your entire species from extinction. This is actually quite merciful. The alien continued as if discussing the weather. The ship New Horizon is currently traveling to your Proxima Centauri colony. It would be a suitable target for demonstration purposes. Murphy's blood turned to ice. His brother lived on that ship with his wife and 2 small children. 50,000 innocent people, including his own family. You can't do that. Those are civilians, non-combatants. They are members of a species that threatens galactic peace. Their status is irrelevant. The captain felt rage building inside him like a volcano about to explode, but he forced himself to stay calm. Ambassador, surely we can discuss this reasonably. Perhaps some kind of compromise? There is no compromise with primitives. You will submit to Federation authority or face the consequences. This conversation is over. The screen went black. The alien ship began to move away from them. Murphy turned to his communications officer. Get me a channel to Earth. Emergency priority. Sir, should we try to contact the New Horizon? They're already too far away and their communications are limited. Even if we could reach them, where could they go? Murphy's voice was flat and cold. Open the channel to Earth. Admiral Frank Rodriguez appeared on screen from Earth's Space Command headquarters. Jake, what's your status? We detected the alien vessel. Frank, we have a problem. A big one. Murphy quickly explained everything that had happened. When he finished, Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. 50,000 people, including civilians, families, children. Murphy's voice cracked slightly. They're going to murder them to make a point. And if we don't surrender our entire planet, they'll destroy all of us? That's what they said. Frank, these aliens think we're animals. They've been watching us and decided we're too dangerous to live free. Rodriguez's face was grim. How long until they reach the New Horizon? Based on their ship's speed, maybe 6 hours. Not enough time to mount any kind of rescue. The Admiral was quiet again. Jake, get back to Earth as fast as you can. We need to prepare. Prepare for what? Surrender? Rodriguez looked directly at Murphy through the screen. His eyes were hard as steel. No, Captain. We prepare for war. If they think we're savage animals, then maybe it's time to show them exactly what savage animals can do. The transmission ended. Murphy stood alone on his bridge, staring at the empty screen. In a few hours, 50,000 innocent people would die. His brother's children would never see another sunrise. He thought about the aliens' words. They called humans primitive and violent. They said it was human nature to return to warfare. Maybe they were right about that last part. Helm, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Yes, sir. As the Liberty turned toward home, Murphy made a silent promise to his brother and all the others who would die. The aliens wanted to see humanity's savage nature. They were about to get their wish. 6 hours later, Captain Jake Murphy watched the news feeds from Earth with tears in his eyes. The New Horizon was gone. 50,000 people turned to dust in seconds by alien weapons. His brother Tom, his sister-in-law Sarah, their twins Bobby, and Emma, all of them dead. The aliens had kept their promise. They broadcast the destruction across all human colonies as a warning. The message was clear: submit or die. But humanity's response was not what the Galactic Federation expected. General Amy Parker stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. Around her, military leaders from every nation sat at a massive table. On the screens, reports came in from across human space. Every colony, every ship, every station was asking the same question. What do we do now? They think we're animals, Parker said, her voice calm and cold. They murdered 50,000 of our people to prove a point. They want us to crawl on our bellies and beg for mercy. Admiral Rodriguez nodded grimly. The Federation Council is waiting for our answer. They expect complete surrender within 4 days. Then let's give them an answer they'll remember. Parker pressed a button and spoke into her microphone. All stations, all ships, all colonies. This is General Parker, Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces. As of this moment, Earth declares total war against the Galactic Federation. No quarter given, no mercy shown. They wanted to see monsters. Today they get their wish. The first human strike came without warning. Commander Steve Barnes led a small fleet of ships toward the Federation outpost at Rigel Station. The aliens expected the humans to announce themselves, to demand surrender, to follow the civilized rules of war. Instead, Barnes launched nuclear missiles while still at maximum range. The aliens had no shields designed for such primitive weapons. The Federation. Commander tried to hail the human ships, confused why they were attacking without warning. Barnes answered the call. On screen, he looked calm and almost bored. This is Commander Barnes of the Human Strike Force. You have 30 seconds to abandon your station. The alien commander, a tall creature with silver skin, looked shocked. Commander, this is highly irregular. The rules of civilized warfare require that we first attempt negotiation. We must discuss terms of engagement. The terms are simple, Barnes replied. You die. 20 seconds. But we haven't even fired at you yet. This is barbaric. 10 seconds. Barnes cut the communication. The Federation commander scrambled to evacuate his people, but there wasn't time. The human nuclear weapons hit the station and turned it into a cloud of radioactive debris. Out of 3,000 aliens on the station, only 200 escape pods made it out. When Federation rescue ships arrived hours later, they found something that made them sick. The human ships were still there, waiting. They had captured the escape pods and done something to them. The survivors inside were alive but broken. They kept repeating the same words over and over. They don't stop. They don't negotiate. They just kill. The news of Rigel Station spread across the Federation like wildfire. For the first time in their history, a Federation outpost had been destroyed by another species. The attack was brutal, efficient, and showed no regard for civilian casualties. High Counselor Veltar called an emergency meeting of the Federation Council. The Great Chamber was filled with representatives from 12 different species all talking at once. This is exactly what we expected from primitives, shouted the reptilian delegate from Xerion Prime. They prove our point about their savage nature. But they destroyed an entire station without warning, whispered the aquatic representative from Aquatica. 3,000 of our people are dead. This has never happened before. Veltar raised his hand for silence. Clearly the humans are more dangerous than our initial assessments indicated. We must respond with overwhelming force to contain this threat. What kind of response? Asked the insectoid delegate from the Hive Worlds. We will assemble the Grand Fleet. Every Federation world will contribute ships. We will crush this human rebellion quickly and completely. But the humans were just getting started. Lieutenant Kate Wilson stood in the weapons lab on Mars looking at the devices her team had created. They were simple things, really. Biological weapons tailored to each alien species they had encountered. Nanobots that could eat through alien ship hulls. Psychological warfare broadcasts designed to drive enemy crews insane. Are you sure about this? Asked Dr. Paul Green, the lab's director. Once we use these weapons, there's no going back. The Federation will never see us as anything but monsters. Kate thought about the children on the New Horizon, about families, torn apart by alien arrogance. They already see us as monsters, Paul. The difference is now they're right. The first biological weapon was deployed against a Federation patrol near Saturn. The human ship looked damaged and sent out a distress call. When the Federation vessel came to investigate, they were hit with a cloud of microscopic organisms designed specifically for their species. The alien crew died slowly and painfully over several days. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that the humans broadcast their death screams across all Federation communication channels. Every alien in the galaxy heard their own people dying in agony. Captain Mary Johnson led the newly formed Ghost Fleet, a squadron of human ships. Equipped with advanced stealth technology, they struck without warning across Federation space, hitting military bases, supply convoys, and communication stations. But Johnson's forces did something that horrified the aliens even more than the attacks themselves. They left messages, coordinates, carved into ship hulls, locations of mass graves where Federation personnel had been buried. Strange symbols that seemed to drive alien crews mad with fear. The Federation tried to respond in kind, but they discovered something terrifying about humans. When Federation forces captured human prisoners, the humans refused to break. They wouldn't reveal military secrets. They wouldn't beg for mercy. Many of them laughed as they died. Colonel Rick Davis led the first human boarding action against a Federation cruiser. The aliens expected the humans to follow standard protocol, disable the ship, demand surrender, take prisoners according to civilized rules. Instead, Davis and his men fought room by room through the alien vessel. They used improvised weapons, turned maintenance tools into instruments of death, and showed no mercy to anyone they encountered. The few aliens who survived reported something that sent chills through the Federation command. The humans were enjoying themselves. They fought like demons, reported the traumatized alien captain. But worse than demons. Demons kill for necessity. These humans killed for pleasure. They laughed while they butchered my crew. They made art from our blood on the walls. The Battle of Proxima Station became the Federation's first major defeat. The human fleet was outnumbered 3-1, but they used tactics that the aliens couldn't understand or counter. When human ships were damaged beyond repair, their crews didn't abandon them. Instead, they turned them into weapons, ramming the vessels into Federation ships at maximum speed. The sight of human crews cheering as they flew their ships into certain death broke something in the alien psyche. Admiral Rodriguez watched the battle from Earth and felt a mixture of pride and horror. Humanity was winning, but at the cost of becoming something terrible. "Sir," his aide reported, "Federation forces are retreating from 3 more systems. Their crews are refusing to engage human ships." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "And our casualties?" "Surprisingly light, sir. It seems the Federation doesn't know how to fight a war where the enemy doesn't follow any rules." "That's because we're not fighting a war," Rodriguez replied quietly. "We're conducting an extermination. The question is, when it's over, will we remember how to be human again?" Across the galaxy, Federation species were learning a new emotion: terror. The humans weren't just winning battles. They were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. They fought without honor, killed without mercy, and seemed to grow stronger with each victory. For the first time in galactic history, entire Federation fleets were deserting rather than face human forces. The word Terra was becoming synonymous with death and destruction. The primitives were teaching the galaxy what real savagery looked like. 3 months into the war, the galaxy had learned to fear the sound of human engines. Dr. Paul Green stood in his laboratory on Titan, looking at his latest creation. It was a small silver sphere, no bigger than a marble, but it contained enough destruction to kill every living thing on a planet. "The nanobots are perfect," he told his assistant. "They consume any organic matter and reproduce themselves. One sphere can destroy an entire world in 72 hours. His assistant, a young woman named Beth, looked nervous. "Dr. Green, are we sure we want to use something like this? It seems..." "Seems what? Too cruel?" Green's voice was bitter. "Tell that to the families on the New Horizon. Tell that to the children they murdered to make a point." Across the solar system, Captain Mary Johnson prepared her ghost fleet for another strike. Her ships were painted black and moved through space like shadows. They had become legends of terror among Federation crews. "Target is the Kepler Research Station," she told her officers. 300 scientists working on new shield technology. Intelligence says they're close to a breakthrough that could stop our nuclear weapons. Lieutenant Sam Roberts, her second-in-command, studied the station on their screens. "Captain, those are civilians, non-combatants, scientists." Johnson's eyes were cold as ice. "They're working on weapons to kill humans. That makes them enemy combatants." She paused, thinking. "But we won't just destroy the station. We'll make it memorable." "What do you mean?" We'll leave them alive, long enough to send a message to every Federation world. Let them see what happens when they try to develop weapons against us. The Ghost Fleet struck at midnight, station time. They disabled the research facility's defenses without destroying it. Then Johnson's forces boarded the station. What they did there became known across the galaxy as the Kepler Incident. The human soldiers didn't just kill the scientists. They arranged their bodies in patterns that spelled out messages in various alien languages. Messages like, "Stop trying to fight us," and "This is what happens to those who help our enemies." But the most horrifying part was the survivors. Johnson left exactly 12 aliens alive, one from each Federation species. She made them watch everything. Then she gave them a ship and sent them home with recordings of what had happened. The recordings spread across Federation space like a plague. Alien children had nightmares. Adult aliens refused to serve on military ships. Some entire species began talking about surrendering rather than face human retaliation. Colonel Rick Davis was leading his Special Forces unit to a Federation military base on Titan 7 when they encountered something new. The aliens had tried to copy human tactics. They had set up ambushes and traps, hoping to catch the humans off guard. "They're learning," Davis told his men as they studied the enemy positions. Good. It was getting boring when they just lined up to die. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Federation forces fought harder than they ever had before. They used human-style tactics, hit-and-run attacks, and even some dirty tricks they had learned from studying human warfare. It didn't matter. Davis and his men were better at being monsters than the aliens could ever be. When the base fell, Davis found something interesting in the commander's quarters. Documents showing that the Federation was trying to create their own version of human soldiers. They were experimenting on prisoners, trying to make their own people more aggressive and violent. "They still don't understand," Davis said to his sergeant. "They think this is about tactics and weapons. They don't realize this is about something much deeper." "What do you mean, sir?" Davis looked out at the burning alien base. "We're not winning because we're better soldiers. We're winning because we're willing to become something they can never be. We're willing to become the monsters they think we are." On the water world of Aquatica, Dr. Paul Green's latest weapon was being tested. The nanobots were designed specifically for the aquatic Zelnari species. They attacked the aliens' breathing organs and reproductive systems. The results were beyond Green's expectations. The nanobots didn't just kill individual Zelnari. They spread through their water supply and began destroying their entire ecosystem. Fish died. Plants withered. The water itself became poison. Within 2 weeks, Aquatica was a dead world. 8 billion Zelnari died in agony as their own oceans turned against them. The few survivors fled to other worlds, carrying stories of the human deathbringers who could kill entire planets. Prime Minister Nalveth of the Federation Council called an emergency session. The Great Chamber was half empty. Several species had already withdrawn from the Federation, rather than continue fighting humans. "We must sue for peace," Nalveth announced. "The humans are not fighting a war. They are committing genocide on a galactic scale." The insectoid delegate from the Hive Worlds clicked his mandibles nervously. "But if we surrender, they will enslave us all. Look what they did to the Zelnari." "If we don't surrender, they will kill us all," replied the bird-like representative from Aviax. "At least slaves can live. The dead cannot. But not everyone." Agreed. The reptilian delegate from Xerion Prime stood up, his scales flashing with anger. "We are the Galactic Federation. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We cannot surrender to primitives." "Then what do you suggest?" asked Nalveth. "We use the Omega Protocol." The chamber fell silent. The Omega Protocol was the Federation's most terrible weapon, banned for 5,000 years. It could destroy entire star systems. "The humans have only one homeworld," the reptilian continued. "We destroy their sun. We kill every human in their home system. The survivors scattered across the colonies will be too few to threaten us." "That would murder billions of innocent people," whispered the delegate from Pacifica. "They have already murdered billions of us." The vote was close, but fear won over conscience. The Federation authorized the use of the Omega Protocol against Earth's solar system. Captain Mary Johnson received the intelligence report while her Ghost Fleet was attacking a supply convoy near Vega. A Federation task force equipped with the Omega weapon was heading toward Earth. "How long do we have?" she asked her intelligence officer. 18 hours, maybe 20. Johnson looked at the star charts. Her ships could reach the Federation fleet in 12 hours if they pushed their engines to the breaking point. But her small squadron against a full Federation battle group was suicide. She smiled coldly. "Perfect. Tell the fleet to prepare for ramming speed." "Captain, that's suicide." "No," Johnson replied. "That's sending a message. If they destroy Earth, there will be no safe place in the galaxy for any of them. Human survivors will hunt them down one by one, ship by ship, world by world, until every last Federation member is dead." The Battle of the Omega Fleet became the stuff of nightmares. Johnson's ships attacked the much larger Federation force like rabid animals. They used every dirty trick, every forbidden weapon, every tactic that violated the laws of civilized warfare. But what really broke the Federation crews was what the humans did when they were losing. Instead of surrendering or retreating, they sang battle songs, funeral songs, songs of vengeance that echoed across the communication channels. When Johnson's flagship was finally destroyed, her last transmission was heard by every ship in both fleets. "Tell your children about us. Tell them what happens when you threaten Earth." The Federation won the battle, but they lost something more important. They lost their will to fight. The sight of humans dying with songs on their lips, laughing as their ships exploded, had broken something fundamental in the alien psyche. 3 Federation species withdrew from the war that day. 2 more followed within the week. The remaining species began talking seriously about peace negotiations, but it was too late for negotiations. The humans had learned something about themselves during the war. They had discovered that when pushed to the edge, when faced with extinction, they could become something that made the entire galaxy tremble. And they liked it. On Earth, General Amy Parker received the casualty reports from the Omega Fleet battle. Every human ship destroyed, every human crew member dead. But the Federation weapon had been stopped. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 7 Federation species. They want to negotiate terms." Parker smiled, and her aide took a step back. There was something in that smile that belonged to a predator, not a human being. "Tell them we don't negotiate with prey," she said. "The war continues until they all kneel or they all burn." Outside her office window, Earth continued to spin peacefully in space, unaware that its children had become the galaxy's worst nightmare. Admiral Susan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance, watching the largest alien fleet in galactic history approach Earth. 10,000 ships from 8 different Federation species, all coming to destroy humanity's home world. The fright aliens had learned from their mistakes. This time they brought everything. "Ma'am, Federation fleet will be in weapons range in 2 hours," reported her tactical officer. Mitchell nodded calmly. Around Earth, humanity's defense fleet looked tiny compared to the approaching armada. Only 300 human ships against 10,000 alien vessels. The Federation commanders probably thought this would be easy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Send the activation codes to all planetary defense systems," Mitchell ordered. "Tell them the galaxy is about to see what happens when you threaten a human's home." On the surface of Earth, Sergeant Tony Martinez watched his screens as automated defense systems came online across the planet. For the past year, humanity had been preparing for this moment. They had turned their beautiful blue world into the most deadly fortress in the galaxy. The Pacific Ocean began to bubble as thousands of weapon platforms rose from the depths. Railguns the size of skyscrapers emerged from hidden bunkers across every continent. The moon lit up like a Christmas tree as defense satellites activated. But the most terrifying preparations were the ones the aliens couldn't see. Dr. Helen Brooks worked frantically in her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was humanity's expert on weaponizing weather, and her latest creation was ready for testing. "The electromagnetic storm generators are in position," she told her team. "When the aliens enter our atmosphere, we can create lightning storms that will fry their electronics. But that's just the beginning." She pointed to a map showing radiation clouds positioned around Earth's major cities. The moment alien troops land, we release the radiation barriers. Most alien species can't survive the levels we've prepared. Those areas will be death zones for anyone not wearing human-made protection. What about our own people in those cities? Asked her assistant. Brooke's face was grim. They've all been evacuated to underground shelters. Every human on Earth is now a soldier. Even the children know how to use weapons. Fleet Admiral Kexmore commanded the Federation assault from his flagship. He was a veteran of 100 battles and had never lost a war. The primitive humans with their tiny fleet didn't worry him. Begin the orbital bombardment, he ordered. Destroy their defense platforms first, then target their major cities. This ends today. The first wave of Federation ships opened fire on Earth's orbital defenses. Energy beams and plasma missiles streaked toward the human platforms. Kexmore expected to see them destroyed in minutes. Instead, he watched in shock as the human defenses absorbed the attacks. Strange energy shields flickered around the platforms and they fired back with weapons Kexmore had never seen before. "Sir, our weapons aren't penetrating their defenses," reported his tactical officer. "And their return fire is unusual." Unusual? How? They're firing physical projectiles at incredible speeds. Our shields aren't designed to stop solid matter moving at those velocities. The railgun rounds hit the Federation ships like hammers striking glass. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against chunks of metal traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. Ship after ship simply came apart as the human projectiles tore through them. "All ships, advance. To close range," Kexmore ordered. "We'll overwhelm them with numbers." Admiral Mitchell smiled as she watched the alien fleet move closer to Earth. "They're taking the bait. All ships, prepare for close engagement. Remember, we don't need to win. We just need to make them pay for every inch." The space battle above Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships, vastly outnumbered, fought with a savagery that horrified the alien crews. When human vessels were damaged, they didn't retreat. They rammed themselves into enemy ships. When human crews were about to be captured, they detonated their own ships rather than surrender. But the most terrifying moment came when the Federation forces finally broke through Earth's orbital defenses and began landing troops on the surface. The aliens expected to find a defeated population ready to surrender. Instead, they found hell. Every human city had been turned into a fortress. Every building was a bunker. Every street was a kill zone. And every human, from teenagers to grandparents, fought like their lives depended on it. Tony Martinez led the defense of New York City from his command post in the subway tunnels. Above ground, Federation forces were learning that humans didn't fight like any other species. "Sir, the aliens have taken Times Square," reported one of his soldiers. "Good. Activate Trap Sequence 7. Above them, the Federation troops who had occupied the famous square suddenly found themselves surrounded by buildings that exploded outward. But instead of deadly shrapnel, the buildings released clouds of radioactive gas tailored to kill the specific alien species present. The few survivors stumbled through the streets, dying slowly as their bodies shut down. Other human defenders picked them off with sniper fire from hidden positions. But what really broke the alien morale was the children. 12-year-old Emma Rodriguez had lost her parents in the first alien attacks. Now she led a squad of other kids through the ruins of her neighborhood, hunting alien soldiers. Her group used tactics no adult army would consider. They hid in places adults couldn't fit. They used toys rigged with explosives. They played recordings of human children laughing while they killed alien troops. The psychological effect on the alien soldiers was devastating. "These aren't children," one surviving alien reported to his commanders. "They're tiny demons. They smile while they kill us." Dr. Helen Brooks activated her weather control systems as Federation reinforcements tried to land. Lightning storms erupted across the planet, but these weren't natural storms. The lightning was guided by computer systems and targeted alien aircraft. Specifically, Federation ships trying to land found themselves struck by lightning bolts again and again until their systems failed and they crashed. Those that made it to the ground faced something worse: Releasing radiation clouds in sectors 7 through 12, Brooks announced from her bunker. Invisible death spread across the battlefields. Alien soldiers began collapsing as their bodies absorbed lethal doses of radiation. Their equipment failed as electromagnetic pulses fried their electronics. Those who tried to flee found that the radiation followed them, carried by winds that seemed to blow in impossible directions. Fleet Admiral Kexmore watched his invasion fall apart from orbit. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled. His ground troops were being slaughtered by an enemy that seemed to include every human on the planet. "Sir, we should retreat," advised his second-in-command. "This isn't a war. It's madness. We came here to end the human threat once and for all," Kexmore replied. "We don't leave until Earth is dead." But even as he spoke, he could see that his forces were breaking. Ships were fleeing the battle without orders. Ground troops were abandoning their positions. The humans had done something no enemy had ever accomplished. They had made the Federation forces afraid. Admiral Mitchell received damage reports from across the human fleet. 80% casualties. Most of her ships were destroyed or crippled, but they had held the line long enough. "Ma'am, Federation forces are beginning to retreat," her tactical officer reported. "Not yet," Mitchell replied. "Send the final message." Across every communication channel in the Federation fleet, a simple transmission appeared. It was Admiral Mitchell's face, bloodied but smiling. "This is Admiral Susan Mitchell of the Human Defense Force. You came to our home to kill our families. You thought we would surrender like the other species you've conquered. You were wrong." She gestured to the battle raging around Earth. "Look around you. See what we've done to your mighty fleet. See how your soldiers die in our streets. This is what happens when you threaten Earth." Her smile became something that belonged on a predator, not a human. "But this is just the beginning. You've seen what we can do when we defend our home. Now you're going to learn what we can do when we come for yours." The transmission ended, but its message was clear. This wasn't just a victory for humanity. It was a promise of revenge. Fleet Admiral Kexmore looked at his shattered fleet and made the hardest decision of his military career. "All ships retreat. Emergency jump to Federation space." As the alien ships fled, they left behind something more valuable than any military victory. They left behind their fear. Word would spread across the galaxy that humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated the largest military force in galactic history while defending their homeworld. But more importantly, they had done it while laughing. On Earth's surface, Tony Martinez emerged from the ruins of New York City. Around him, human survivors were already beginning to clean up and rebuild. Children played in the rubble while their parents planned revenge against the aliens who had dared to attack their home. The galaxy had wanted to see humanity's savage nature. Now they had seen it in all its terrifying glory. Earth still lived. Humanity still fought, and somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the Federation was learning to be afraid. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. President Linda Taylor stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Retribution as it entered orbit around the Federation capital world of Centralis. Behind her ship, a fleet of 300 human vessels followed like hunting wolves. Below them, the once mighty Federation Council waited in terror. It had been 6 months since the failed attack on Earth. In that time, human forces had swept across Federation space like a plague of destruction. Every alien world that had supported the invasion now lay in ruins. Every Federation fleet that tried to resist had been annihilated. The galaxy's greatest civilization was on its knees, begging for mercy from the species they had once called primitive. "Ma'am, the Federation Council is requesting permission to come aboard," reported her communications officer. "Tell them they have 1 hour to present their surrender," Taylor replied. "After that, we start glassing their cities from orbit." Elder Sevlak was the last surviving member of the original Federation Council, the one who had helped create the Galactic Alliance 10,000 years ago. Now, he shuffled aboard the human ship with trembling hands, followed by the remaining alien leaders. They were a broken group, Some species had lost 80% of their populations to human revenge attacks. Others had simply stopped fighting and declared themselves neutral, rather than face human wrath. The meeting took place in the Retribution's main conference room. President Taylor sat at one end of a long metal table, flanked by Admiral Chris Anderson and General Amy Parker. The alien delegates huddled at the other end like frightened children. "You wanted to meet the savage primitives," Taylor began, her voice calm and cold. "Here we are. You have something to say to us?" Elder Sevlak spoke first, his ancient voice shaking. "President Taylor, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, I formally surrender all Federation forces and territories to human authority." "That's a good start," Taylor replied. "But surrender is just the beginning. You murdered 50,000 of our people to prove a point. You tried to destroy our homeworld. You declared war on our entire species. Now you face the consequences." She gestured to Admiral Anderson, who placed a thick document on the table. "These are the terms of your surrender. You will sign them all, or we will continue this war until every Federation world is a dead rock floating in space." The aliens. Read the terms in horror. Complete disarmament of all Federation military forces. Human military bases on every inhabited world. All alien space travel subject to human approval. All scientific research monitored by human observers. Population limits enforced by human authorities. "This isn't a peace treaty," whispered the delegate from Pacifica. "This is slavery." "Yes," Taylor agreed. "It is. You taught us that might makes right. You showed us that stronger species have the right to rule weaker ones. We learned your lesson very well. But this will destroy our civilizations," protested the insectoid delegate from the hive worlds. "Your civilizations destroyed themselves when you threatened Earth." General Parker spoke for the first time. "What we're offering you is existence. The alternative is extinction. Choose." Dr. Karen White sat in her office on the Human Research Station orbiting Centralis, studying the psychological reports from across former Federation space. The war's effects on alien populations were more devastating than anyone had expected. "The condition is spreading faster than we anticipated," she told her assistant over the communicator. "Entire species are developing what we're calling Terran anxiety disorder. They can't sleep without checking their skies for human ships. Their birth rates are dropping because they're too afraid to bring children into a universe ruled by humans." Her assistant's voice crackled through the speaker. "Is it really that severe?" "On Aquatica, the survivors have built underground cities because they're afraid to live on the surface where human ships might see them. On Zerion Prime, they've banned all forms of aggressive behavior because they're terrified that humans will interpret it as a threat. Some species are voluntarily sterilizing themselves rather than risk producing offspring that might anger their human overlords." White looked out her window at the Federation capital below. The once proud city now flew human flags from every building. Alien children learned human languages in school alongside their own. Adult aliens bowed when they saw human soldiers in the streets. "We didn't just win a war," she continued. "We broke their spirits completely. They'll never be the same." 5 years after the surrender, human merchant ships traveled the galaxy under the protection of a reputation so fearsome that entire systems would shut down their defenses rather than risk being mistaken for a threat. Former Federation worlds competed to offer the best deals to human traders, desperate to stay in humanity's good graces. Captain Jake Murphy, now Admiral Murphy, commanded the human patrol fleet that kept order in what was once Federation space. His ship, the UES Liberty, had been rebuilt and upgraded until it was twice its original size. The same ship that had made first contact now served as a symbol of human dominance. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call from the Vegan system," his communications officer reported. "Pirates are attacking a colony transport." "Human transport?" Murphy asked. "No, sir, Centaurian." Murphy was quiet for a moment. Before the war, he might have felt sympathy for alien victims of piracy. Now he felt only cold calculation. "Set course for Vega," he ordered. "If pirates think they can operate in human space, they need to be educated." The pirate fleet was destroyed in less than an hour. Murphy's forces took no prisoners and left no survivors. The message was clear. Under human protection, there would be order. Under human rule, there would be peace. But it would be a peace enforced by fear. Elder Sevlak spent his final years writing the true history of the war for future generations. He wanted them to understand how the galaxy's greatest civilization had fallen to a species they had dismissed as primitive. "We made 3 fatal mistakes," he wrote in his journal. "First, we assumed that all intelligent species would value their own survival above all else. Humans proved willing to die for principles we couldn't understand. Second, we believed that civilization meant the rejection of violence. Humans showed us that sometimes the most civilized thing a species can do is become utterly savage in defense of what they love. Third, we thought we could intimidate them by killing their innocence. Instead, we taught them that mercy was a luxury they couldn't afford. We turned peaceful explorers into the galaxy's apex predators." He paused in his writing and looked out his window at the human military base that now dominated the horizon. Human soldiers patrolled the streets below, keeping the peace through the simple threat of their presence. "But perhaps our greatest mistake," he continued, "was believing that we could break them. Humans don't break. They bend, they adapt, they overcome. And when they're pushed too far, they become something that makes the entire galaxy tremble." 10 years after the surrender, President Taylor gave her final address to the Galactic Assembly. Representatives from every species in known space sat in silence as she spoke. "You call us conquerors," she said, looking out at the sea of alien faces. "You call us tyrants. You call us monsters. All of these things are true. But remember why we became these things." She gestured to a memorial wall listing the names of everyone who died on the New Horizon. "You taught us that the universe is not safe. You showed us that peaceful species can be threatened by those with superior firepower. You demonstrated that in this galaxy, the strong prey upon the weak." Her voice grew colder. "We learned those lessons well. The question now is whether you can learn to live with the students you created." The assembly sat in terrified silence. Some delegates wept openly. Others stared at their hands, unable to meet her gaze. "This is your galaxy now," Taylor continued. "A galaxy where human ships patrol every trade route, where human bases guard every inhabited world, where the mere mention of Earth's name sends entire fleets fleeing in panic." She smiled, and every alien in the room felt a chill run down their spine. "You wanted to see our savage nature? You got your wish. The primitives from the 3rd planet of an unremarkable star have become your overlords. Your children will grow up in a universe where humans decide who lives and who dies. Your species will survive only as long as they remember to fear the name Terra." President Taylor left the podium and walked out of the assembly hall. Behind her, alien delegates sat, in stunned silence, contemplating a future where their greatest nightmare had become their eternal reality. The war was over. Humanity had won not just victory, but absolute dominance. The galaxy would never forget the lesson they had learned. Some species should never be pushed too far. In the darkness between the stars, when unknown ships appeared on scanner screens, the first prayer offered was that they didn't bear the blue and green flag of Earth. For in this new galactic order, there was only one rule that mattered. When humans spoke, the universe listened, and it listened in fear.